My name is Graham Montague, and I'm a graduate student at Oklahoma State in Natural Resource Ecology and Management, and I am researching the gear bias of flathead catfish management throughout all the reservoirs, well, not all the reservoirs, in some reservoirs in Oklahoma. Oh, I just love being outside. I really enjoy Oklahoma. Oklahoma weather is just absolutely beautiful. I love being outside and being on a boat every single day for my research. You just can't beat it. So this reservoir was actually a creek, but us as humans dammed it up, and now it became Boomer Lake. But originally it was a creek, and that's how a lot of reservoirs in Oklahoma are. They get dammed up by humans, and originally they're creeks, but now we have reservoirs, and it provides a lot of great opportunities for, anglers, outdoor enthusiasts that like kayaking and being out on the water. I just grew up outside. My dad would take me fishing all the time. I grew up right on the base of Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and we would just go smallmouth fishing every single day. And there was one day that when I was fishing with my dad, I had a revelation. I said, why can't I make a career out of this? And that's why I chose the path of fisheries and fisheries management.
So when I was 5 years old, Dad took me fishing over his lunch break. He would take me to work with him, and instead of eating lunch, we would fish, because he and I were fishing buddies. That's just what we did. And we stopped at Theta Pond over at the university to fish. And that day we didn't have any bait, and so we used a piece of lunch meat off of our sandwiches as our bait. So Dad had me bait my pole with my lunch meat and toss my bobber in the water. And it wasn't 5 minutes later that I had a fish tugging on my bobber. So sure enough, my bobber goes under and I hook a fish and I reel it in, and I'm thinking, okay, it's just gonna be a normal perch, because that's typically what we caught out of Theta Pond. And I reel it in, and I'm a little confused because this fish, it looks different. And I asked Dad, I said, Dad, come over here. I think I have a different kind of fish on my line. And so Dad looks at it and he starts taking it off the hook, and it bites him on the finger, and it draws blood. And he goes, yep, that's not a normal fish. We're not used to catching fish with teeth out of the pond. And so Dad knew a couple of zoologists at the university. And so what we did is we filled our lunch pail with water, put the fish in it, and took it up to the zoology department, and they identified it as a piranha. And they kind of think someone just had an exotic animal that they released where they shouldn't have released it, and I just so happened to be in the right place at the right time to catch this fish. And so my wife, years later, my wife told me, she goes, honey, a dead fish in the house doesn't make good wall art. And so I decided to bring the fish out to Lake McMurtry and make Lake McMurtry its home, basically, at the East Bait Shop. And now every summer kids come into the bait shop and they gravitate towards the fish. They see this fish in the jar and they ask about it, and they get so mesmerized every time I tell them it's a piranha. They hold it up and they look at the teeth. And so it's just a really, really awesome story and really awesome memory that I had with my father.
few months ago, when we had a lot of rain around northern Oklahoma, we had some flooding. We have a flood control reservoir, Kaw Lake, just down the road, but sometimes Mother Nature can overwhelm a flood control reservoir, and that's what happened. The Arkansas River left its banks and flooded a good portion of southern Ponca City.
Oh, the flood was really crazy. So, around here, below Kaw, a lot of the southern portion of Ponca City and more of the low-lying areas were inundated. Probably the biggest impact we had to us for a while was just that Lake Road, the road that comes out to our office from Ponca City, completely washed out at one point, and it took with it a local bar where that bar was very busy on Sundays, so I'm not really sure where people are going to congregate now for a while, but it washed half of it away. If you drive down Lake Road to go back, you'll see half of a bar sitting on the side of the road. You can still see inside and see all of the stuff on the shelves and chairs and stuff. It's pretty. It was called webs. So webs floated away in the flood. What was really strange is there for a while when you would drive by, you would still see all of this alcohol sitting on the shelves, and you're like, how has someone not pillaged that by now? You would think that they would, but nope, it was just standing there. But no, we might have some happy fish swimming around.
I kind of photograph the area and video the area. We have had this past spring and into the summer catastrophic flooding, and it's been very detrimental to where I live, and so I can't help but pull out a camera and try to document it. And some of this has happened in Stillwater, where we're located today on the campus of Oklahoma State University, where we've had miles of roads closed, some home damage, some things like that. Most of the damage in the area has been based around the Arkansas River and the cities and towns located along the river. And the flooding of the river is controlled by the Army Corps of Engineers, and the big trick has been how to control that without causing too much damage. They knew the damage was going to happen, but how do you control that? And it has wiped out neighborhoods, multiple homes. I'm sure livestock, animals displaced, even a lot of commerce. One of the big casinos in Tulsa that is located on the river was flooded and closed. So it was something that I've always been used to. Destruction, lots of different variety of I don't know what I'm looking at, catastrophes, if you will. We've seen our share here in Oklahoma of tornadoes and fires and wildfires, and we've seen a lot of flooding, but nothing like this. And I've been told that the last time this type of flooding happened was in the early 80s. And the city of Tulsa and subsequent communities around Tulsa were not prepared. And then they put in a levee system years after that, and I was told that it really helped control the amount of destruction this time around. But from what I saw from flying my drone and taking pictures, really just devastated multiple neighborhoods, and really wreaked a lot of havoc for families, and there were even some communities that were locked in by the flood, so the only way to get out of the town was by boat.
Well, you don't know the memories I've got down here at this creek. Memories of my kids from, like I said, David, he can't even remember when he couldn't swim because I taught him to swim right down here before we owned this. David's cousins owned this property, but we was allowed to come down here and go swimming, and I would bring David down here, and I can't swim, but I taught him to swim. And then when Nick came to live with us, he learned to swim down here, and they always had friends out here. You know, I didn't ever have to worry where my kids were. My kids was here, you know. And I attribute a lot of it to being because of the creek. They wasn't interested in going to town like all the other kids. They was just two little country boys that was just having a good time right here at home. Yeah, this creek means a lot to me. David and I have sat down there and talked and talked. So many hours. Yeah. This old creek means a lot to me. You know, it was so different then. Back then, some of my best friends were Indian girls. Joan was, I think she was some Indian, but people were prejudiced maybe. I know a lot of them were not allowed to have Indian friends, and they could not ever date an Indian.
What's the wildest fish story you've ever...
Was that big? All different sizes and things for different types of conditions. And then over here, I have some dry flies. So, let's go fishing. Give me a hand. Old fly fishers are hell. Tie in another fly.
What happened to it?
I caught a tree.